Hudson, do the SPSM intro song for us. Unmute yourself.
What is it? All right. SPSM. Oh, wait, is it the pig one or SPSM one?
I don't give a fuck. Just go.
Okay. Hamlet pig helps you survive the COVID pig. Hamlet pig does whatever a COVID pig does. Tonight on SPSM Chat, AnnMarie Otis, Rudy Caceres, and Hudson Harris, missing the little things. Is this on?
Hey everyone, we are live. Welcome to a brand new SPSM Chat, SPSM, Suicide Prevention Social Media. My name is Rudy Caceres, at Rudy Caceres on Twitter and on Instagram, but don't check that out. I really suck at Instagram right now. We are talking about what would you miss if you were to die by suicide. Our guest is AnnMarie Otis, founder of Stupid Dumb Breast Cancer, and What Would You Miss? How convenient. So she's going to introduce herself and talk about all the cool things that she's doing. And Hudson Harris is my guest host. God bless his soul. But as for you all out there in social media land, whether you're watching on Facebook, facebook.com/SPSM Chat, twitter.com/SPSM Chat, we are, of course, at SPSM Chat, youtube.com/SPSM Chat, mixer.com/SPSM Chat. Make sure that you introduce yourself on any of these lovely platforms. And especially if you're on Twitter, make sure you use that hashtag SPSM. We have a great conversation coming up. So without further ado, let's introduce our round rectangle of panelists, which is a small but mighty group. First and second most, or third most. I guess I would be second most. Take it away, Hudson Harris.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hudson Harris. I am a behavioral health system designer. I live in sunny San Diego with my two boys. I am very excited for tonight's guest, and it has been quite the burn of COVID, so it's nice to have some type of normalcy every week to see you all. So happy Sunday, everyone.
Yes. Well, I thought that COVID was passé. I thought like we had gone past that. I thought like it had already been extinguished.
Yeah, so we were supposed to flatten the curve, and what we did is we made like a plateau. So I think we missed a step.
Without further ado, tell the whole world, the whole SPSM COVIDverse, who is AnnMarie Otis?
Well, hello there, gentlemen. First of all, if I had to say SPSM that many times, there is no freaking way I could do it.
Oh, just fucking kill me.
That out there. Like, seriously. Thank you guys for having me on. My name is AnnMarie Otis. I was diagnosed with breast cancer 8 years ago. Actually, today is my 8-year mastectomy anniversary, if that's actually a thing. But 8 years ago today, I had a mastectomy, changed my life. I blogged about it because I have a really freaking nosy family that has to be in my business, and it was much easier than calling them all. From that, I told my story. I did it through photography and through my blogging, and it resonated with people, I think mostly because I spelled shit wrong and I used a lot of exclamation points, and people realized I wasn't polished or perfect. I was just me. And I quickly realized that my mental health was a complete part of my cancer process. So I added that into it as well. And it's probably been the most cathartic and therapeutic thing I've ever done in my life. I have children that have bipolar, and they have OCD, and I mean debilitating OCD. Through that, I think it's important for me to share my story, because then it gives them an opportunity to be able to talk about theirs. So thank you guys for having me on.
Yes, and we've been circling each other for a few years now, and so I'm glad that we're finally able to get you into the lion's den. And, you know, pretend this is inside the Actors Guild. What would be your favorite curse word?
Oh, God. Like, I could say anything?
Yes.
Yes, this is rated XXX.
Oh.
So, like, okay, first I'll tell you a funny story. So when my kids go to school, you have to have what's called a white card. And on the white card, it has all their health information on it, right? So I texted my son one day and I said, and I meant to write, did you get your white card? And it came out, did you get your whore card? And I was like, oh, wait, no, I meant white card. And it changed it again to whore card. And then I said, oh, damn it. No, I mean white card. And it changed it again to whore card. And my son's response back to me was, autocorrect's listening to you, Mom. So I kind of use a lot of words. Douche canoe is probably my favorite.
Oh, damn it. You took mine.
Oh, really?
I love douche canoe and douche nozzle are two of my favorites.
Oh, that's a good one. Twat waffle is also another one.
Oh, cock
Oh, there
waffle.
we go. I mean, you and Hudson are gonna get very well together tonight. So I'm glad of all the co-hosts I can have on this week for AnnMarie Otis. I'm glad you were Hudson. Hudson is a father as well, and he's got some awesome kids in his own right. So I'm glad that you're here. Let's do the Brady Bunch view. Let's see. Joelle Marie loves the intro theme. We might have to have that a permanent thing. But since you're not here all the time, Hudson, I'm just going to have Joel, Carly, or Joelle do it when they're on. So, hey, M. Thinkling, one of our MVPs. She is a BSW student and lived experience advocate coming from North Bay. I appreciate you, M. There I checked the Twitter chat. Let us see what is going on over there. Okay, so all right. So introduce yourself on the Twitter chat and make sure that you are using that hashtag SPSM. Be a cool person like Joelle Marie. Let me actually check to make sure that this is tweeted to the pinned to the top of our tweet. Okay, awesome. So again, if you're on the other platforms, I'll check in on Mixer as well and Facebook and YouTube. Make sure to comment and we can put your comment on screen just like that. Be an awesome person.
Hey, what's everybody else's favorite swear word?
Well,
A1.
I actually did a whole thread of this one.
Yes, that'll be question
A1.
There we go. Well, yeah. Okay.
A1A.
While
we're waiting for that, actually,
there is an art to swearing, though. For the record, like you can't just like. And some people, I really feel like I have perfected the art of swearing. But you can't just drop those words sometimes.
I actually talked to my kids about it, and like we have a rule that like you can swear when it's situationally appropriate. And like my 8-year-old has gotten to the point where he said shit a couple of times, and he kind of looks at me, and I'm like, "Nice job." Like, I
mean, haven't the past 6 months been situationally appropriate?
Yes, it has.
Factual.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Factual. Yeah, I had someone once rip me apart because I said "fuck cancer."
Well, that's totally fine. Question number 1, and it is a doozy. What are some things you would miss most if you died from suicide? And in case you're new to us, if you're on any of the chats, Facebook, Mixer, YouTube, or Twitter, just respond with A1 to Q1. There's 4 questions, so on and so forth. Just give your own response. Feel free to jump in and out, go out of order. And for you, Hudson and AnnMarie, since there's only 3 of us, feel free to weave like in your own questions as well. Like we're gonna play fast and loose tonight, so don't feel as beholden to these four questions as we usually do. So take it away, AnnMarie.
So I think I should give a little background first. Why I started What Would You Miss? I realized that when I was in my darkest of moments, it wasn't the things that everyone tells you, your job, your kids, your house, blah, 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 that made me want to live. It was the really little things about myself that I liked. And I needed to remember that because that's where I found my worth. And if we don't have worth, we don't have hope. And if we don't have hope, how can we go on? And those little things made me really realize how worthy I was. And they were ridiculous. I would miss singing at the top of my lungs in the car, either with people or without. I don't care. I would miss that. I would miss being in an elevator and telling an inappropriate joke to a complete stranger. I would miss, and I miss it right now so desperately, being in a store and looking at someone and realizing, I think that person needs a hug, and asking them, do you need a hug? And giving them a hug. That's the things I would miss. And I think it's really important to reflect on those little things in your life because you are so worthy of living through them. I'd also miss swearing.
Well, there you go. Joelle Marie says, I'm happy to say it, but not keep it in writing. I have one particular one. Rudy asked me about it. That's me. I'm Rudy, by the way. Asked me about it before we met. I forgot to answer him and called him and randomly said it. He thought I was high. Oops. Oh, she's talking about her favorite swear word, and that would be motherfucking ass fuck.
Good one.
Good one. It's got good alliteration.
Yeah. You can even abbreviate that too, like in letters.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of ass, let's go to Hudson question number 1.
Go on, Rudy.
You think I was gonna spare you today?
Never,
Any
never,
week.
never pull back. Always lean in, and it's never too soon. It's funny. This question really kind of resonates with me because when I started my work in behavioral health and suicide prevention, I think my understanding of like what I would miss and things that I had been through really kind of colored my look of it. And for those of you who may not know, I was diagnosed with SARS-CoV-1 back in 2003 and was in quarantine really, really early in the outbreak. And I was told, at least by the time, there was a really good chance from the doctors I was going to die, and it was definitely far closer to a near-death experience than I ever wanted. And then, I've worked through my own demons and my own self-worth issues, and it was something, AnnMarie, that you said about that worth aspect that really resonated inside of me. And I think it used to be that the stuff I would miss was like larger things, experiences, sites, doing these new things. And as I've gotten older and I've gotten more comfortable inside of my own skin and more kind of, I'd say, in tune or in touch with what drives me, the smaller the things have gotten that matter. Telling really bad jokes, dad jokes, like the smell of sawdust when I've made a really big project, like hearing my kids laugh when they don't know that I'm listening, like that kind of unfettered, unrestricted laughing at each other and laughing at whatever they're doing. Those types of small things become so vital. Like that's what fills my tank. And that's the stuff that in the really dark days I would miss. It's interesting. It's really gone into a much smaller space for what makes me happy and what I would miss the most. And Rudy, clearly.
Well, thank
Mainly
you.
Joel, but also you.
Well, thank you. I mean, let me ask you, AnnMarie, have you got any pushback from this whole phraseology? What would you miss? Because I would imagine there'd be some people that think that that's ignoring the other reasons why someone would want to take their own life for very valid reasons. And like, there's nothing that they can miss enough for them to still want to end the pain. What say you to that?
Yes. So I actually have been that exact person, but no, I have not gotten one pushback. When people have said to me, well, what would I miss if I'm dead? I start talking to them about different things. Tell me about your favorite cookie. This actually happened. I had this person describe a cookie to me, a macadamia nut cookie that her grandmother made. And I said, tell me about what did it smell like? And she told me about how it smelled and what that first taste felt like. And at the end of it, she was like, oh my God, I missed that cookie. Like it's so easy to pull someone through this. I've had therapists actually tell me that they're using it in their therapy sessions. I had a person message me and they said that their friend shared, what would you miss? And he thought it was the stupidest freaking thing on the planet because if he's dead, he's dead. And he was actually planning his suicide. And that day he got up, was going to, finish work and planned on killing himself over the weekend. And he went down, got a cup of coffee like he always did, sat on the subway, took the first sip of coffee and started to sob because he realized he would miss, and I'm going to use his language, that fucking cup of coffee. It's a fucking cup of coffee. I'd miss a fucking cup of coffee. I mean, he must have said it 10 times in his message to me. And then he proceeded to say that he went and cried more because the person next to him asked him if he was okay. And he's, the guy, the tough guy that no one ever checks on. And, he's the leader of his team. He's head recruiter. His family goes to him for problems. He makes a lot of money. So he's given money out to his family members and no one asks him if he was okay. But this stranger on the subway did because of a stupid fucking cup of coffee. So I see your point completely because what would you miss started because I was staring at my pill bottles one day and I thought if I could just take these, I'd be done. I'd be completely happy. And I started thinking about the things I would miss. And the first thing I thought about was singing in the car.
Any follow-up, Hudson, to anything we've mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, cookies. I would miss cookies a lot. I have a real love of different types of cookies, all cookies. I'm even one of those people that will happily eat like oatmeal raisin with chocolate chips because it's still a cookie at the end of the day. Even those weird dried thin ones that are like the grocery store where they're like supposed to be healthier, I like those too. Also like that feeling of, that feeling when you connect with somebody and you meet, you have that first, those first discussions of, learning, of growing. And it's those types of things. It's those little micro joys. And like, again, it never comes from where you think it should or could, like the guy who asked for coffee. It's one of those things, I think, and also just right in what you said, AnnMarie, is that we do need to check on our strong folks, and ask them, how are you doing? And I will tell you, as like as a dad and going through all of this and all the other stuff that's been going on 2019 and this year as well, like not many people ask me how I'm doing. And when they do ask, it means a lot. So, it's ask. I'd rather be annoying and ask you how you're feeling and send you cookies than not,
Yeah. And actually what it did start too for me was it had other people started texting me and telling me things that they would miss about me, which was really kind of cool. Like all of a sudden to get this message that would say, I would miss you at Bunko if you weren't there. It makes you feel like you do exist, that people would miss you if you weren't here, because when you're in that dark place, you feel like a burden. You feel like no one's going to miss you if you're gone. I mean, I thought that my whole life, that I was such a burden to people, and who the hell would miss me when I was gone? And to hear someone actually say those words it validates your existence. That's what we need.
There was, I don't, maybe it was just before COVID, I had an opportunity to go on a game show, which I'm still hopeful I will go on. But I was part of the homework for the game show was to ask my friends what they thought about me. And it was one of those things that was, I don't know, some of the responses were just, they brought such joy to me. Like I printed off what people said. One of the ones that I loved the most is that, you are chaotic good, a master of mischief, and about as selflessly genuine and kind as a human being could be. And like, that was someone that I hadn't talked to in months. And, those types of things of like just telling people how you feel about them can have such a profound impact that I would challenge all of you out there, call or text one person that you haven't talked to in a long time and just tell them why you appreciate that they're there.
Yeah. I had a parent message me and tell me that her son's lived with depression his whole life, and she never really knew how to speak to him because she never suffered from depression. And she knew he was off one morning. And so she started to tell him, if you weren't here, I would miss you slamming the door when you leave. And I would miss you leaving your napkin in the sink. And she just went into this whole thing. And he went to school that day and texted her and said, I need you to come get me. I'm having severe suicidal thoughts, and I didn't think you'd miss me if I was gone, and I realized that you would. And she was messaging me from the hospital because she was admitting him. The point I'm saying is that sometimes we need to learn how to talk to people, because it's really hard to say suicide. It's really hard to say, are you suicidal? That's hard to say. But saying to someone, I would miss you, or asking them, if you weren't here, what would you miss? And getting them to really dig deep and find those little things that they would miss, those cookies, those crumbly cookies, or, pot roast on Sundays, whatever it may be. It opens up a soft, gentle conversation of a really difficult subject, really difficult. And let's face it, you guys, we're talking about suicide, but that's because we're in it, right? Not everybody wants to talk about this. I mean, who the hell wants to talk about it? But to have a tool like this, I think is really important. It's just a tool in your toolbox too. Do I think this is going to solve it? No, I ain't freaking stupid, but I think it is an asset to our growth.
Yeah, the weird thing about SPSM Chat is that we all love talking about suicide.
There's a sentence you don't hear every day.
We have suicide spring break at the annual conference, and I still remember the very first time I went, and then there's this big ass cake, and it says suicide spring break, and I'm like, you just don't see that every day. Like it's.
Well, it's just like saying condoms, right? We got to normalize the word.
Normalize what word?
Condoms. Like you should say condoms a lot. You know what
Suicide I mean? And douche canoes. We're going to change the world tonight.
We are on it, Hudson. You and me. Let's do it.
Speaking of normalizing condoms, let's get to question number 2. Question number 2, what is one little thing that you'd miss that other people might be surprised by? Back to you, AnnMarie.
This was actually a really hard question for me because I'm pretty transparent in what I would miss. But there is one thing that people are going to be really surprised about. I would miss the sound of silence. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason why people are going to be surprised because I'm kind of loud. So I think they will think like, what the hell? But I just love sometimes when the house is quiet or I'm in the car and it's just quiet for a moment and everything just settles just for a second. It doesn't have to be 20 minutes or an hour. It's just that moment of silence for just a minute. And then I can go back to singing and dancing again. But there is something really soothing about the sound of silence.
It's really weird. Mine's going to be similar. 1:50 a.m. in the morning. I don't know if other people are out there like this. I'd love to know if other people are. If I wake up in the middle of the night, it's usually between 1:50 and 2 a.m. and go to the bathroom or something woke me up or nothing woke me up. But the sound when the wind blows at that time of night, there's nothing else going on. There's no other sound. There's no helicopters. There's no honking. There's no people talking. Just that silence and listening to the palm trees outside kind of rustle back and forth when you're like that half asleep, half awake, and you can kind of float in that that bubble. I would miss that a lot. Those type of things, I don't know. They recharge my battery. That's a weird one for me.
What's weird is that. Sorry, AnnMarie.
No, go ahead.
What's weird is that I used to imagine. I don't think about death so much now, but that if I was dead, that's how death would be like. It would be that like Zen type of silence.
Mm-hmm.
That it would just be this calmness, just like this oneness, and there's just nothing else to worry about. You're just it's just like that one consciousness. If that makes any sense?
Well, I'm pretty sure I'm going to hell, so I'm definitely not going to be quiet there. So
save me a seat.
Honey, I'll drive the bus. You can get right on with me.
Well, if you two are going to hell, then it can't be that bad. All right. Anything else you want to say about question number 2 before we move on?
I think it's actually an important question because I think that does talk about your worth, because people only see what you want to show them, right? So to dig down deep and really find that thing that makes you uniquely you is pretty incredible. And I think when we start to do that, our darkness that we feel, that really heavy darkness, we do crack the light a little bit, listening to those palm trees or just sitting for a moment. That's mindfulness. We all learn that in therapy, right? We got to be mindful, not mindful, be in the moment. And I think that's what the silence does for me. It just lets me for a second be in the moment.
Let me ask you, AnnMarie, because I had little in quotation marks. And I was listening to you talk during an advisory panel yesterday about how people think about like all the big things that they'd miss, but oftentimes when you really get down to it, if we're really being honest with ourselves, it is the little things. And so can you speak more about that, about how like people don't really see the forest for the trees enough?
Yeah, I think we have a song that's called "The Little Things Are Everything," and I'm sure somebody's watching this and they're thinking, "Oh, well, that's what COVID did. They let me sit back and like appreciate the little things." But for how long? Like how long does any of that really last? And those little things that people are talking about is, "Oh, I baked bread all week." Okay, great. I'm glad you baked bread. But what does that do for you? Like, tell me about what the bread did for you. That's the little thing that you need to find. It's not the act of baking the bread. It's, did you like the way it smelled? Did you feel safe when you smelled it? Did you get a warm feeling when you first were eating it and it made you feel like really like, oh my God, this tastes so good? Those are the little things that I think we completely and utterly forget about. Yes, we have kids and we need to remember that, we need to be here for our children, but we can't be here for our kids if we can't be here for us. And those little things are what get me through. I mean, putting on a new pair of stilettos is like one of my favorite things to do. They kill your feet, but you guys don't get it. But anyways, they kill your feet, but you love the way your feet look in them at the same time. That's a really little thing that I absolutely would freaking miss if I wasn't here.
What's your favorite color stiletto?
I have a sparkly pair that I just love.
Ooh, like glittery, like silvery?
They're silver glitter. Yeah. And
That's
I just
awesome.
adore them. And I did wear like hot pink, pink stilettos into my mastectomy that had adorable little bows on it. And they called me the diva in heels, which I totally loved.
Yeah.
Speaking of glittery, any final words on question number 2 before we move on?
Just a little bit echoing off of what AnnMarie said is I think, and I would say even, the three of us, people that talk about suicide, talk about mental health, people that are in public, facing more often than not, I think we get very good at understanding what we can present out and what we can't, and what we have to protect or what we need to keep private versus what can be public. And that is something that I think I am working to do less. I mean, still keeping my kids safe and myself safe and all that stuff. But I definitely realized that like there were slices of myself that I was sharing with people, but not everything. And it wasn't ever like a conscious thing. And I think part of me in 2020, part of my commitment to myself is that I'm sharing more of who I am, because I'm finding that I want to share those little things about me with other people, not just, keep them private out of some sense of, whatever. So that's one of the other things. I'm trying to share more small pieces of myself with my friends and with people that I don't know, but listen on SPSM Chat.
Well, I think you brought up a really good point, because I was that depressed person that pretended like she wasn't. I was the party girl and going out and, life of the party, and everyone wanted to, oh, where are we going tonight? I would plan something. And even into my adulthood, I'm the party planner. When I attempted suicide at 15, my friends were shocked. They couldn't believe it. That's because I wasn't sharing all of myself. I wasn't sharing the little things. I was only sharing what I wanted them to see, because I truly believed that if I wasn't that person, then nobody would want to hang out with me. And when I look back on that time, it breaks my heart for that 15-year-old girl who was, trying so hard desperately to find who she was, but really believed she needed to be that person for other people to like her. And I think so many teens feel that way. They put on this facade, and every kid is doing that. Every kid, you're not alone in it.
Fuck, AnnMarie, I'm 37 and I'm just now getting to the place where I feel like I can actually be who I am and want to be who I am and share who I am. Like it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I broke my filter a few years ago. It was a little wobbly, and then it just broke right off.
Yeah, mine's not really installed very well. It's kind of just like snapped right off.
Dude, I'm older than him. I'm almost 50.
I'm old. I'm 38. I'm going to be 39. Babies. I can't wait till I'm your age, AnnMarie.
Well, Jesus, we just came on this chat, and Rudy's like, "Oh, look, I can see your wrinkles better now." I mean,
we are in high def. Hey, do I have to show you my gray hairs? Okay.
Great, Rudy. Look at gray hairs. Like more salt than pepper.
Oh, I do love salt and pepper, though.
Okay, fine. Okay, so before we get into question number 3, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, let's get into some comments and tweets. So Mark's phone on Periscope says, in response to question number 1, after joining CTL, there are friends that ask how, I don't know why I'm saying it like that ask how are you doing, so unique. Are you a social worker student? Mark's phone, tell your friends they can't be responding to the Twitter chat like 5 days later, okay? They do not, to get extra credit for your social worker class, you need to respond live. It took many conversations on CTL to be comfortable saying, I think you're saying crisis text line, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Glad you're fighting the good fight. I know there's a lot of bullshit going on there right now.
What kind of cookies, Em?
Yes.
I had a friend bring me chocolate oatmeal cookies that were just like face melting good. I can post the recipe if you want it.
Yes, especially if it's face melting. Okay.
And they're gluten-free.
Awesome. Okay, so you all can see this Twitter chat, right? Right, AnnMarie and Hudson?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So Julie Well, who is one of our social worker students, says, my children's happiness and their lives, getting to see them grow up. That's one of the things that she'd missed, that if she died by suicide. Hello, Joelle Marie, tweeting and also chatting in the Mixer account. I appreciate that. Grace Durbin, Miss Checkmark herself, says, had trouble answering this. That surprised me. Social isolation has me like, I miss everything I'm missing right now, but I feel like that's important. Chronic illness, isolation, etc. Make it easy to forget what living feels like. Thanks for sharing, Joelle. Thanks for sharing, Grace. Thanks for sharing, Julie. I thought I saw more, but that's totally fine. Okay, so let's get on to question number 3, and that is there any one thing or person that is keeping you from seriously considering suicide as an option to end persistent despair? Take it away, AnnMarie Otis.
So this was interesting to me, because this is part of what You Would Miss was so important, why it was so important to me. I don't have a person. I have a safety group that I know I can text at any time of the night that will help me through, that dark moment. But it's me who ultimately has to be that person to get me through that. And I realized that about 9 years ago, I was very close to planning out my entire ending. and I hospitalized myself, and I realized that I was the only one who could get me out of this. Just me. There's nobody else who can do it. I don't think my kids could get me out of it when I'm in that really dark state. Nobody can. Not my best friend. Nobody. It has to be me. I think they can help me by, lifting me up and being my support system, but I have to be that person. And I think we forget when we're really dark and heavy and feeling those desperate moments that we've gotten through every day before that. It's really easy to say right now, but it's true, right? We've gotten through 100% of these days. So we can get through one more. We did it because we are strong, and we're stronger than we think. And I know those are like cliche terms, and I'm going to get reamed out. One of my friends is going to send me a message. You're using those freaking, stupid ass positively posts again. But it's true. It's absolutely true. We got through these days. We can get through one more. And I'm the one who has to tell myself that.
Now, AnnMarie, was there a point where you went from being the kind of person that was jaded towards posts like that to being like, oh my God, this totally makes sense that I'm gonna share posts like this now?
No, I feel like with posts like that, and I don't mind them, as long as we teach people how to understand them. I have a problem with someone just like slapping on, it's okay to be okay, and not explaining to me, why is it okay? Why is it okay? Or saying, you're not alone. Well, I feel alone. So if you can't just say that to me, you got to give me more than that. We were talking before about checking on your strong friends. Well, it's great when someone will text me and say, hey, how are you? And I'll start to be like, I suck right now. And then they go into, well, I went to the grocery store yesterday and I was in line, and they give me their story. You're not asking me how I am. So those positive posts are fine as long as we're teaching people how to be positive. The other thing is negativity needs a voice. We can't be positive all the time. It's okay to be negative. It is okay. It needs a voice. It needs to be heard. Let it out.
What say you, Hudson Harris?
Yeah, like 100%. Like I could not have said what you said, AnnMarie, any better. I just want to echo the meme thing because I've definitely gone through a genesis of what I share on social media, and the theme that I am finding through surviving 2019 and surviving this year too has really been, I have to show up whole and I have to show up authentic. And I find that the more I do that, the less dark the days are. Even when they're hard, they're better. And what I found with my memes, and not just my social media stuff, but also with the talks that I gave at conferences, is like I used to literally have dissociative events when I gave talks. And it took some therapy to kind of unwind and figure out that I wasn't really putting any of myself into it. So I could communicate the material, I could get people excited, but I wasn't really in it. And so I really tried some of the last talks I gave before all the lockdown kerboodle stuff, was I started to put myself into it and started to actually tell my own story. So I gave a talk on human-centered design and talked about how I used it to work with my ADHD. And talked about how, I worked on using different, practices that I use professionally, personally. And once I started putting myself into it, I found that I didn't worry about what I was feeling, whether I was being positive or negative, if I was being authentic. And so sometimes I put up posts that are like, the two things I love most in this world, my kids and not being with my kids, or, stuff that's more real. So I'll put positive stuff up. I put up a couple of you've made it through 100% of these days before, because that's how I was feeling. But by the same token, I also make sure to talk to people about it. But then I'll also post stuff that's like, you know what, today fucking sucks, and I'm just going to go lay in bed and I'm going to watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine and I'm going to make sex tape jokes from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and then I'm just going to go to bed, and then tomorrow I've made it through one more day and I don't have to go back to it. I can just that day.
I think Hudson and I are the same person. I'm exactly the same way. And the other thing is wouldn't it be great, instead of putting a positive post up, explain to someone how to talk to someone? Like, I have a whole list of things you could say to me when I'm feeling down. Let's post that shit. Like, let's teach people how to engage a conversation. And statistics, let me see those real statistics up there. Domestic violence statistics. I'm talking the real nitty gritty crap that people are living with right now. I don't mean, I didn't get to the grocery store to buy my White Claws.
Yeah, I mean, we're not here to blow sunshine and butterflies up your ass, but we can be pretty encouraging when we want to be. Grace Durbin, if you're listening, she has a tweet that she sends out every so often of things to say to people that is just beautiful.
Oh,
So
tag me in that, Grace, please.
You could tweet that out or tag that. If not, I can find the last time you sent it on my feed. But yeah, I agree.
I have one too. I'll retweet. I'll tweet mine out too. It's, it's so important.
Awesome. Anything else on question number 3 before we move on? Okay, so while we still have a few minutes, I wanted to go back to you, Hudson, because we've talked about this on and off for the past several months. How are things going on in San Diego? Because I know you're doing your best college try to save that whole area during this COVID-19 crisis. So
yeah, it has been a remarkable journey. So I started, for those of you who don't know, I started at the end of last year. I came on for a county board of supervisor to help them drive the strategy around redesign for behavioral health. And then that has turned into, now I'm working directly with the county doing population health and behavioral health, which is something that a lot of people don't realize is a thing. It has been, it's been a pretty rewarding and amazing experience to know that like the stuff that I'm doing is really having an impact, like large scale. And the people that I work with, it's one of those things, you talk about, AnnMarie, earlier about like the worth and where we find it, that, when I was in prior working environments that weren't positive or were super toxic or were the 7th level of hell, I don't know, different ideas. It's really hard to find that worth. And it's hard to find that, what am I doing? Am I doing right? And I can say the work here has not been easy. It has not always gone how I would want, but the people that I work with have just been resolute in supporting me and my vision and what I believe we can do in behavioral health, doing cross-sector work and bringing in, business and law and figuring out ways to serve the people who need it most in settings. And so it has not been easy, but it has been so fucking rewarding to be able to do some of the projects that I've done and know that like people's lives are impacted. And then to know now, like a lot of the work I'm doing is longer range planning, that like we're looking at like, how is the stuff we're doing now impacting 10 to 15 to 20 years from now? And like, even just talking about it, I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, that chokes me up a little bit. Like, I know that the work I'm doing now, long after I'm, gone, is still going to be helping. And so it has been a challenge, but I've never felt more excited about working for where I live. San Diego is my first real home. I've lived all over the country and out of the country. San Diego is the first place that I've ever felt at home.
Well, thank you for all you do, Hudson. You are, I don't want to use the word inspiration, but you are a definite badass who is like someone I truly admire.
You're not a douche canoe.
You are, okay.
Thank you.
I don't use the word, I don't use the word inspirational or someone who gives hope. I use the word, you're not a douche canoe. How about that?
There we go.
I'll take it. I appreciate it.
Question number 4, the final question. What would you say to someone who tells you, think about the people you leave behind if you died from suicide? So this is tied into the whole suicide is selfish conversation. So I'll let you take it away from here, AnnMarie.
So I'd say, stop making me feel fucking guilty. I have enough shit going on. Because that's what that statement does. It does nothing but make me feel guilty for feeling like this. And that's not right. It's bullshit. That's what that statement does. And whenever somebody says it, that is my response to them. I think that people who say that have never been there. And I'm Italian Catholic, so I got enough freaking guilt to begin with. I don't need to add that on top of it. You already feel guilty. You feel like you're ashamed, you're embarrassed, and now you're putting guilt on top of it. How about just helping me?
Yeah, the reason why I asked this question, AnnMarie, is that we're talking about what would you miss. So it might be easy for some people to misconstrue that is that, well, wouldn't you miss your kids like so much where don't you understand that they would be so mad at you, their lives would be ruined for the rest of their lives if you died by suicide?
And what I say to people, because I've had that exact question asked to me, what I say to them is, when you are in that desperate moment, you're so dark and you can't see through any light, you can't see the light, you think everyone is better off without you. So while people look at it as, oh, don't you realize what you would do? You think you are doing everything right for them. You think, I have to do this because they're going to be better off without me. That's the sad part right there. It's not about you know, it's about that you think that you have that feeling that they're going to be better off without you. You don't know what your worth is. You feel unworthy of love from your child. I mean, that's supposed to be unconditional, right?
What say you, Hudson?
I'm gonna be a lot less gentle. Like, fuck your fucking shit, get off your high horse and sit down beside me. Or we could take like the more biblical view and say, take the log out of your own eye before picking the splinter out of mine. Like,
Yeah.
that type of attitude is so fucking ridiculous. And it just speaks volumes to either someone's own arrogance or hubris, or the best possible, chance, their own, lack of knowledge. If you don't know what to say to somebody,
Shut
that's
up.
not it. Yeah, shut up. But that is definitely not it. Like,
I think the other part to that is that people don't realize how dangerous that sentence really is.
Mhm.
They really don't. That's a very, very dangerous sentence because of what I said. You feel that sentence makes me immediately feel guilty that I'm feeling this way immediately. And when you feel that guilt is a devil that takes over. So if you're going to say something like that, shut your fucking mouth and just sit next to me and just hold my hand. Like, you don't even have to say anything sometimes. Hand, like, rubbing my shoulder, just letting me know that you're there for me is amazing. Didn't mean to interrupt you, Hudson.
No, that's totally fine.
Interrupt away. For those of you that have the ability, take mental health first aid. For those of you that don't, like, Google it. My God, there's gobs of resources out there. But really, at the end of the day, that's shaming. Like, you're shaming somebody into staying, and it won't ever work. Like, we as humans don't respond well to shame. I think we can probably all agree that we as humans don't respond well to, like, corporal punishment, and really even negative reinforcement doesn't, generally speaking, have the impact we want. It's positive reinforcement. It's the honey that we need, not the salt. And I think that we have to really get down to this core idea that people that are in that level of despair don't need judgment. They don't need shame. They don't need pain. They don't need people telling them what to do. They don't need people controlling them. They just need somebody to sit with them, validate the experience if they can. And if they can't, just be present and wait until someone can get in. And just, my God, offer them a glass.
Yeah. The other really important part to that is, if I felt comfortable enough to share with you my suicidal thoughts and you said something like that to me, you just destroyed my safety net. So now I retreat back and I don't want to tell anybody what I'm thinking because you're going to tell me something like that that's going to make me feel guilty. Create a safe space if you're going to do it. Don't say you're going to and then freaking come out with that comment. Learn. That's a ghetto on me coming out. Sorry.
No, we SPSM Chat, we get ghetto. So
okay, good, because I wore my hoops just for it.
You're what?
I wore my hoops.
Nice. I like your hoops. Where are you? You're East? Are you New Jersey? They look like New Jersey hoops.
I'm not New Jersey. I am upstate New York. They are good hoops.
They're wonderful. But
the
you can always never ask an upstate New Jersey or an upstate New York person from New Jersey, because it's always this gesture.
No, you're right. The other day, my son told me that hoop earrings were just circles, and I about cracked him upside his head.
As you should.
Is he still alive?
No, I actually said to him, "This is it. I got 4 of you. I can get rid of one."
Does he know that that's like part of your people's accoutrement? Like,
he didn't get it. He grew up in the suburbs, and unlike his mother, so.
Well, I weep for the future. Okay, so before we get on to final thoughts, any other things you want to mention about assholes?
I'm good.
Okay, so while you're thinking of your final thoughts, let's get to some tweets, because I know Grace and AnnMarie also said some cool stuff as well. Okay, so AnnMarie, in response to question number 4, says, please stop using this as, Grace says, please stop using this as a suicide prevention prompt. We do think about them. We are thinking about them. Often we feel they'd be better off. We think about it so much we can't stand it. We already feel guilty. Just stop. Hashtag SPSM. And then AnnMarie G4 says, things to say: you are not a burden. I can give you space. You are doing okay. Take as long as you need. It's not your fault. I love you. So I say to Hudson quite regularly. Celebrate even small victories. Lean on me. How about a stay in the night? You are enough. You matter. And anyone else who has tweets or responses to any of these questions, feel free to still leave your responses, and I'll make sure from the SPSM Chat account to respond to them in due time. And finally, Joelle Marie at the Laz says, in response to question number 4, I think of anyone literally experiencing my pain as they do, then they would respect that I need to have the freedom to choose what to do with it. It's not about anyone else. And if they think it is, then they think their feelings are worth keeping me in pain. Fuck that. Hashtag SPSM. Let's take it back to final thoughts. And let's go to AnnMarie, final thoughts.
So first of all, thank you both for having me on. I really appreciate it, because I do believe the more we talk and share our stories, the more we heal ourselves and we can connect with others. I think that's really important. If anyone out there wants to be part of What Would You Miss, we take videos, we take pictures, whatever you want, send it to us and we will put it out there. But I think it's really important to keep talking. You know, don't be afraid to share with someone. Use What Would You Miss to other people. Let them know, you know, hey, if I wasn't here, I would miss this. It could be a great red flag for them to, you know, to connect with you. If you're in crisis, use those crisis hotlines. Reach out to someone that you trust. There are people that want to listen to you. Just, you know, open the door just a little bit and let that light in. I know how hard it is. I know that sounds so, you know, trite by saying just let the light in. I get it. You know, I've been in that dark space. I've been there, and I'm not out of it. And I also think that that's really important to understand. You know, we don't just get over this. This isn't something that tomorrow I wake up and think, oh, okay, I'm okay today. Every day I wake up thinking this, and every day I have to get through it. So, you know, just remember you're not alone in that stupid little phrase.
All right. Any other things you want to promote, or people, organizations you want to give shout outs to?
Well, I could give a shout out to Stupid on Breast Cancer. If you have any cancer issues, I work with an app called Wisdo. I'm the director of community there. We have a great chat service on there, everything from depression to anxiety to PTSD. Lots of people there that you can just talk to and share your stories. And I also work with a company called Lifebulb. So check them all out. They're all, you know, mental health related. So there's something for everybody.
Now, you've mentioned stupid dumb breast cancer a couple of times. Can you give people just a short preview if what to expect? First of all, you're all on all the social media platforms, but you also have a website, a blog. So what can people expect?
You could expect to see a lot of mastectomy pictures. Stupid on Breast Cancer was created because I wanted a space where people could talk about everything from, you know, losing your libido to, you know, going through chemo and, you know, what do I do when I get mouth sores? But I wanted a place where we could share from each other, because what worked for me might not work for you, but it might work for her. And if we all share a part of it, we're going to compile a great source of information. Through that, I shared my girlfriend she photojournaled everything. And I shared them on the internet because there was nothing when I was diagnosed. I could find no pictures of what I was going to go through. And I was scared as hell. And I wanted a place where people could see the raw truth. Stupid dumb breast cancer name came up because when I was diagnosed, I told my then 4-year-old, and he was like, stupid dumb breast cancer. Like, you know, those are bad words. So it just kind of stuck, and it hasn't really gone away yet. It's a very active community. So anybody, and it's not just breast cancer. People talk about lung cancer on there, and ovarian cancer and pancreatic cancer. So we've grown into a really great organization. It's a nonprofit, so I have events and things of that nature, and the money stays local in my community.
All right. And also, can we talk about how cool your hair is in this picture?
In that picture tonight, I got like bad hair day. Thank you. I was having a good hair day that day. Today, not so much.
No, that's totally fine. Speaking of good hair days, let's get to Hudson final thoughts.
So AnnMarie, I lost my nephew to Ewing sarcoma in August of last year.
That's called an orphan. That's an orphan cancer. My very best friend has that.
Yeah, it was terrible. And my sister came to town. Gavin's first birthday since he passed was a few days ago. And we are putting together, my sister wrote beautiful blog on Post Hope, and it's now going into, it's going to be published as Gavin's Guide to Surviving Cancer.
I love this.
I would love to, I'd love to send it over to you once it gets there. It was, you know, it's one of those things, like we ask these questions about like why we're here and what we're doing. Losing him is one of the big reasons that, you know, I will always want to try and stay. You know, that belief that, you know, I'm here for a reason and I'm here to help and I'm here to do things and I want him to be proud. And so I love your website, and it was an honor to be able to talk to you tonight. And thank you for all that you do and all the light and fucking joy that you've brought to the world.
Can I say one more thing about what you just said, please?
Of course, of course.
One of my closest friends was 17 years old, and he died of DIPG, which has a 1% survival rate. 1%. I have a tattoo on my arm for him. His motto was "Stop and smell the roses." He was an incredible 17-year-old. No child should die. Our government gives 4% of funding to childhood cancer. Kids with cancer are being treated the same way they were 40 years ago. It is freaking ridiculous. It is absolutely unacceptable, and we need to make a change with that. And I do a lot in the childhood cancer community because I think it's just outrageous that kids are even being told that they have cancer when we sit back and, you know, we have fucking Viagra.
Yeah. He was 13. He was just past his 3 months past his
Hudson, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's the money that goes into childhood cancer, the money that goes into suicide prevention. We spent more collectively on fucking
Viagra.
Essential oils.
Thank you. Yeah, both.
I like oils though. Viagra, I don't really care about. Sorry, guys.
No shade.
There's some prioritization that I really hope gets fixed, because the stuff that we focus on beggars the imagination as to why we do it, as opposed to some of the things that should be readily addressable or should be, you know, workable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Hudson, I know you don't have Hamlet with you, but I do hope Hamlet is going to be okay. And I hope that every now and then Hamlet can still make a cameo, because he is our unofficial mascot.
I have to figure out how to get him on camera. Hamlet has packed on the COVID 50. He is now probably a little bit north of 100 pounds and is now strong enough to basically flip over pretty much anything he wants. But he is very loving, and he's been here. He goes inside his little sleeping bag, and then he sits in there and he makes all these honking noises as he goes down and goes to bed. And he's doing well. I will say that there's sitting at my front window and watching people walk by with little kids has just been one of the most joyful things. Like, these little kids come by and they know they can bring 2 carrots or 3 carrots, and they come and Hamlet just honks up to them, and they go over and they'll feed him a carrot. All the darkness and all the sadness and everything that we had to go through with the quarantine, knowing that he was a part of I'd say 30 or 40 different families, like regular walks to come by, was pretty special. He's a good pig.
Yeah, in case you didn't know, AnnMarie, Hudson has a pig, Hamlet, who is awesome, is fat, and eats lube,
everything,
I guess.
Everything but the teeth is the joke.
I actually wanted a pig for a really long time.
They're great animals. If they didn't taste good, and
I'm a vegetarian, so I'm okay having a pig.
Okay. The other problem is they have sharp hooves.
Oh.
And if he steps on you, he will leave a perfect indent of a pig hoof. Yeah.
Ouch.
Hoof. Okay. So
hoof. It's a hoof.
Hoof.
Hoof. Smelly hooves.
Hoof. Okay. Well, on that note, thank you so much. I wish I could talk to you both for an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours, 2 days straight. You're awesome, AnnMarie. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Hudson. Sorry I can't see you soon, but we will make it work in the near future. And I already know if I'm ever in upstate New York, I have a bed in AnnMarie's house. So
well, couch, but yeah.
I have a bed in AnnMarie's house, so that's awesome. And so that's going to do it. Next week on SPSM Chat, we have on Sula Johnson, she's not but she is a death doula, and Carly Larson will be back, and because she is well acquainted with Sula, so she sounds like an awesome person. I've been following her on social media, so go check her out at Sula Johnson on Twitter. And I wish you all the best, Hudson. Feel free to take as many weeks as you need off, but I hope that when you do come back, you can come back next week for all I care, but when you do come back, you are going to be all guns blazing, and you will be appreciated by all. And as for you, AnnMarie, you have yet to rid yourself of us just yet.
Oh, yeah, we just got introduced, so it's going to be a while till you rid yourself.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Until next Sunday, 6 p.m. Pacific, by the way, facebook.com/SPSM Chat, twitter.com/SPSM Chat, mixer.com/SPSM Chat, youtube.com/SPSM Chat, and of course, read the blog at spsmchat.com. Sign us off, Hudson Harris.
Keep your piggies close and your friends closer.
That's not good enough. AnnMarie, sign us off.
My auntie used to say, "Let the piggies out of the pen," but she ended up going to the bathroom.